Hey everyone. A lot of times we start these shows off by pointing out some of the many factual errors in various holy books or denounce the terrible ideas that some followers of those books believe in. You know, sometimes we make snarky comments about the hypocrisy that's rampant in religion or the defense of the atrocities committed in its name. But today I'm not even going to mention it. Today I want to talk about atheist community. So there are definitely some believers and even some atheists who think that gathering together regularly in community with each other is too similar to religion. This is ridiculous. Gathering together is another normal human thing that religion has tried to claim as exclusively theirs. Allowing religions to get even non-believers to accept that community is something only religious people do keeps us from really making progress in terms of normalizing atheism. We need to gather together, not only so we can really make change, but also for the basic human need of being with others. And that's what we do here at the ACA. After these shows end, there's still stuff going on in a bunch of different places. And you can find all those links in the description and the live chat. So come join us and hang out at any of these communities because they are lots and lots of fun. And the Bible and the Quran are some of the worst books ever written in history. If you disagree, call us because the show is starting right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today is August 11th, 2024. I'm your host, Secular Rarity, and joining me today is the man who has been sending people to hell for over a decade. It's Armin Nevabi. What's up, brother?
Hey, hi. That was a good intro. Thank you.
How do you feel about that, man? Knowing that you are causing doubt in the hearts and minds of the believers, and you are currently filling the fiery pits of hell with more people. Does it keep you up at night? You know, does it bum you out?
Yes, it does keep me up at night with pride. That's
just excited. Just got like a calendar or like something on the wall, just tally marks, just like another one. Got it. That's good. Hey, that's nice. It's good to know that, you know, when we're down there burning and being tortured for eternity, that at least we'll have friends around us, you know? Do you get more punishment for sending? You get more punishment for sending other people to hell, right? Like going out there and spreading.
Or Christian.
Well, okay, let's do Islam. I think in Christianity, there's some good argument.
Every time you cause other people to sin, right, their sin counts on them and on you as well, Islamically.
That's a bummer. I don't think that's exactly how it works out in Christianity. I don't know that the math is there in Christianity like that, but it isn't good. You're still not supposed to.
Math. Huh? It's so mathematical. Like they have so many rules about this is going to be 546 times more in sin, and then you have to carry the two, and then you pray with 3 people, this is how much reward you're getting. But if you pray with 4 people, the reward is going to be astronomically higher. And they do the math for us so many times. They do the math, like I don't know what, and it's always insane numbers, right? It's always right. If you pray with just one more person, instead of 5,000 mansions in heaven, you're going to get 5 trillion mansions in heaven. Like, okay. And then if you add one more, like it's going to be like 10,000 trillion mansions. Like, oh my God. So just a little bit more. It's insane. So for example, we were told, again, I know many of this is not according to Sahih Hadith or stuff, but this is what we told the children. If you go to a mosque and if you just clean the mosque, like use a broom to like just dust them off, the mosque, you will lose 1 sin per dust particle.
Oh, really?
From the mosque. So every single dust you remove from the mosque while cleaning it removes one of your sins. That's how significant that is.
Really? That's
Yes.
wild. And isn't it like doubled? Like your rewards are doubled during Ramadan? Like if you do good things, like you get like extra points and stuff.
Do you think they do double? They do thousands. They do crazy numbers. It's never double. It's always a crazy, insane high number. They don't do like double, triple, quadruple. That's not the numbers that they did. It's going to be like 1,000 times or 100,000 or something else more. Like, I don't know.
That's wild. That's wild. Hey, all that math, it must be real. It's got to be true if they're doing all that math. Well, folks, we are here at the Atheist Experience, and the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And like I said, we are the Atheist Community of Austin. There is lots and lots of wonderful things that are going on here every single day, even if we are not live taking calls. But we do actually have a 24-hour stream, so you can actually watch calls all day. But we've got calls, and we're going to take those calls. I see a bunch of theists are already in there, and I am super excited. Guys, please give us a call. We love talking to our believing brothers and sisters out there. And if you don't believe, that's okay too. Give us a call because we have open lines and we are ready to chat. But before we do that, Armin, we have to talk about the results of Share Your Experience question from last week. Okay, so last week we asked you to complete the conspiracy theory. What gospel authors don't want you to know, okay? And you had a shot at it last week, Armin. We are going to see what our wonderful viewers posted. So number 3, Josh Sheridan, what the gospel writers didn't want you to know. Judas was Jesus's twin brother and took his place on the cross. Yeah, I like that one. I'm okay with that one.
That's actually that's close to the Islamic narrative.
Yeah, right. See, again, that honestly, I'm just saying, might prove Islam is true, Josh. Number 2, X Million saying gospel conspiracy. Ironically, presaging his own demise, the bulk of Jesus's carpentry work consisted of building crosses for the Roman. My God, that's great. That's great. I love that. Like we get all this evidence that's just like, no, for like 10 years, Jesus was building crosses for the Romans. That'd be great. Like really, actually, all of Christianity is just because like Jesus as a 17-year-old was pissed off, like because he got too many splinters or something. He's mad at the Romans. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Do you think that Jesus was a good carpenter?
I don't think so. I don't think we have any evidence to support that he took any amount of time to learn that trade. It's just at no point in time is it like
if he was a good carpenter, it would have kept him busy. Like he wouldn't
have time to go walk around and break a bunch of fishes for. I totally agree.
It's kind of a bit like Hitler. Like if Hitler was a good painter,
if he was actually a good painter. Hang on, stop.
He probably would. No. Okay.
Stop. Number 1, QC. What the gospel authors don't want you to know.
Historical event. Okay, sorry.
Dionysus was actually at the Last Supper in blue body paint. That's right. It was a biblically accurate Olympic ceremony this year, you guys. Thank you all so much for your comments. And we've got another prompt for this week. So make sure you get those comments in the comment section below the video. Don't put them in the live chat because we won't read them. We will like right now, but then they'll disappear. So we won't pick them. Anyway, the prompt for this week. Armin, are you ready?
Yes.
What would Jesus Google? That's a good one. Google. Yeah.
Can I do what would Jesus ChatGPT instead? Because I don't think what I have in mind would be a Google would be like what would he like?
I'm going to say yes, just because I feel like if I say no, it will just sit here awkwardly for a minute. But yeah, what would Jesus?
Works as well. Google works as well because Google now has AI responses, so this will work as well. So I think that Jesus would ask Google what are some fun tricks he could do in a party with handholds.
Oh, yeah. That's not bad.
That's the unique thing. Like, I have handhold. Like, what are some unique tricks? Like, what could I make people?
I'm just imagining there's like YouTube videos out there, and there's some guy, and he's like, "Hey, welcome back to my channel. You know, if you've also been crucified before in your life and risen from the dead, like, here's what you can do to impress your friends with the stigmata." Like, yeah. I think that is a super viable channel option. And if anybody out there wants to create that and send me 10%, I'd cash those checks.
There should be a YouTube channel like that where he teaches people, just in case they have handholds like him, what are some fun things you can do with them, right?
That's true. That's true. We should normalize all the millions and millions of people out there with stigmatas right now. So if you also have been crucified by the Romans. Oh God. Okay. All right. We're like 10 minutes into this, and the crew is like furiously pounding on their keyboard, like, please God, move on. So again, the prompt for this week, folks. What would Jesus Google? What would Jesus Google? I hope we can get wristbands for that, because that is way better than what would Jesus do. But as always, you guys, I'm excited to see what you come up with. You always have wonderful.
You have handbands if you have a hole in your because it could go through your hand.
Because it would go through the hand. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is terrible. Yeah, get your comments in below the video and check us out next week, because we're gonna read the three of them, and whoever those wonderful hosts are will probably not get canceled like Armin and I are gonna. So anyway, we got some wonderful.
It's Christianity. You're not gonna get canceled.
We're good. Yeah. It's true. True. We've got some fantastic calls that are coming in, and I am gonna grab them in just a second. I want to point out all these wonderful people that are shouting us out in the live chat. David Haxer, a member for 2 months, gifted 1 Atheist Experience membership. Thank you so freaking much for that. We love that. Anybody that is a member, make sure to throw those emojis all throughout it. I think there's one of me like with my face in my hands. I don't know, but if so, feel free to put that in whenever you feel that way, which I think happens a lot when you and I host together. But we've got $2 from Blasphemous. Oh, I like that. Can my mansion have servants asking for a friend? You do get servants in the Islamic heaven, don't you? Don't you get like it's like prepubescent male?
Yeah. So the girl slaves in heaven are for sex. 72 of them, right. But there are also some boys that the Quran promises that they have like eyes like pearls, so they're good looking as well, and they are servants. And there has been a lot of debate in Islam what they're for. Some people are saying they're for the sexual pleasure of women who go to heaven. Okay. Some people say that they're just servants, and people like, if they're servants, why the Quran like insists that they're pretty?
Yeah. Why would you?
But some people also say that these are for, the Quran doesn't promise anything to women in afterlife, and these are for gay men. And people are like, what do you mean? Like it's a sin to
make sense. Yeah.
be gay in Islam, but like, no, it's not a sin to be gay in heaven. It's only a sin to be gay on earth. In heaven, you could be gay as much as you want, just like you could drink wine.
You can drink wine in heaven, but it doesn't get you drunk. So
if you have some people, some Muslims argue that if you have homosexual desires, just be patient. Like, you don't have to sin in this life. In heaven, you're going to have a lot of boys that as sex slaves that you could enjoy. So just be patient, and you will get your share.
Well,
so that's
there you go. Well, there you go, folks. That's that. Yeah. If that works for you, I guess. We've got David Haxer, a member for 2 months, sending $5 Canadian, saying, "Is this super chat worth more if I send it during Ramadan?" Yes, I can tell you this. Yes, it is. And the other thing I'll tell you, David, and I'll tell all of you out there right now, that if you like this video right here, right now, during the live stream, your rewards will be quadrupled in the afterlife. Okay. You will get mansions. You will get puppies, gold bars. You have to like this stream right now. Otherwise, I don't know. You may be tortured for all eternity. Honestly, it's made up either way. So I guess I can like threaten you or offer anything there because it doesn't matter. It's all crap either way, right?
It might be against YouTube policies.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. I don't know how the Christians keep getting away with it. Anyway, we've got Jonathan France 499 saying J Mike and Armin more like Slay Mike and Armin Dangerous. Like Armed and Dangerous. This didn't really work last time, but I'm doubling down. I appreciate you doubling down, Jonathan. And because you did that, you will receive an extra mansion in atheist heaven. That is true. That's how that will happen. Quantum Answer, been a member for 2 years, sending us 100 Czech krona saying testicular disparity and Armin rocking second show in a row, and we are excited. Best host duo, no doubt. Testicular disparity is a good one. That one I have not heard before. That is good. You will be punished in hell for that one though, Quantum. Sorry, that's just the rules. I don't make them up. I don't make them up on the spot here. There's a book. It's really old. It must be true. And then Jonathan France sending us $1.99 saying SR and Armin. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's about how I feel. All right. You ready to take some calls, Armin? We got a bunch lined up. Let's do it, man. We are gonna grab Benjamin. Yeah, I figured it already. I was just gonna do it anyway. Oh yeah, this one's gonna be good. I'm excited for it. We've got Benjamin. Him in Alabama is a theist and wants to defend biblical slavery. Well, hey Benjamin, you're talking with SR and Armin. Yeah, give us your thoughts, man. What's up with biblical slavery and why is it good? Sure. Okay. Before we do that, though, we can talk about indentured servitude as opposed to slavery, Benjamin. We can do that. I'm totally fine with going that route. But I would really like to just hammer something home here, which is one of the big differences in terms of like chattel slavery and like indentured servitude is in chattel slavery, your property. You're considered the same as like this chair I'm sitting on or this microphone I'm talking into. If I wanted to, I could just fucking give this away to anybody and they could do whatever the fuck they wanted with it. And that is in the Bible. That is allowable by God in the Bible. They give you specific ways how to do that. I mean, is that fair? We can still talk about indentured servitude, but I just want to know if that's a fair statement that I'm saying there.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, cool. All right, man. Okay, so let's talk about indentured servitude. Why is indentured servitude okay?
No, he said he wants to go to just a biblical slavery.
Oh, you just want to talk about?
Yeah, he at first he wanted to talk about that, but then he changed his mind. So let's go to biblical slavery.
Okay.
I was going to talk about indentured servitude.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Because indentured servitude is a lot easier to deal with than the slavery stuff.
Sure, I agree.
But you're supposed to support something that is in the Bible, like because it says that you want to talk about biblical slavery.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather we talk about something that is in the Bible because that would be relevant to the show.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I can talk about the
biblical slavery,
I guess.
Yeah.
So why do you think either of them are good? I'm really comfortable with saying they're both bad. Like why do you think either of these are good, Ben?
Let's do biblical slavery. Yeah. Yeah. Why is that good?
When I called in 2 weeks ago to defend slavery, I was trying to figure out a way to do the pros and cons. And so
do you want to sit down somewhere and focus on this call? Because it seems like you're walking around and the audio is not very good.
Yeah. You are fairly quiet.
Sorry. Sorry. That's, so yeah, the thing that I was trying to make a point on is that it was good for the economy at the time. And also it helped people out too. If you couldn't afford a house or if you couldn't afford even food or basic necessities, you could work for somebody and then they would supply you with a house on the land and you would just work for that person. But you would get a house out of it and food.
But just to be clear, you're not saying it's moral. You're not saying that even in that time it was moral. You're just saying like it was a better option than somebody just starving in the desert alone.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
Okay. Do you really think this is a worthwhile thing to be defending? Like, it sounds like you don't really agree with it. It sounds like you're not a fan of it, man. It sounds like you wouldn't want this to happen today in mass.
Well, it depends because, like, I look at it as if somebody needs, like, shelter and food and all that stuff in the situation.
We should enslave them
and be an indentured servant. Well, I mean, I would rather them have a home and food than not have a shelter and food. I mean, I don't want them to starve.
Sure, but is the only option? And I'm gonna kick it over to Armin here in just a second. But is it the only option truly in the world that we live in that either large swaths of humanity has to be put into slavery or indentured servitude, if you want to say that? But what indentured servitude is you voluntarily selling yourself into slavery, right? Is it really the only option? The majority of the world needs to be enslaved or they just starve to death? Because I just really don't think that's the case, man. And I think we have lots of other things we know about that work better. But hang on, let Armin go for a second. I want to hear what he's got to say here.
Okay, so you're saying through slavery, they got something that was in their best interest. Is that your point? Through slavery?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's examine that. Would that individual want something that is in their best interest, or would they not want that? As most individuals, like if they rather have A than B, would they not choose A?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're starving, you would rather have food. And
no. Let's go one step at a time, right? If something is in my best interest, would I not choose it?
Yeah, you would, usually.
Okay, so if you take choice away from me, right? What am I going to lose? Am I going to lose the things that are in my benefit? Or am I going to lose only the things that are not in my benefit? Because if I was free, I would have already chosen. So let's say, for example, I am the master, you are my slave, right? And the relationship that we have with each other is something that is a win-win. If it's win-win, did I really need to force this upon you? Wouldn't you have chosen it if this relationship was in my benefit and it was already in your benefit as well? Wouldn't you, could I have not just convinced you of working for me in exchange for house and food without me having to use force, if it's actually in your benefit?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. It wasn't by force. So a lot of times...
No. Hold on. One second. If it's not by force, then by definition, that's not slavery. Right? If it's a mutual agreement...
Servitude. That's why I said voluntary servitude. It's not slavery.
No. We're talking about slavery. Hold on. We're talking about slavery. We're talking about biblical slavery. Slavery, by definition, means no choice. Means...
In slavery, you're sold by people around you. You would be captured and sold for money, pieces of silver, and then you'd be forced to work for somebody. That's slavery.
Okay, so
indentured servitude works the same.
Just let me. Okay, just before we go to that other concept, do you have anything in defense of slavery? Can you just focus on slavery for a second? Do you have anything in defense of slavery?
It helps the economy.
What's the point of the economy? Why the growth of the economy? What's the point of that?
To help society mostly. Growth of the economy helps society, supply and demand.
Basically, the point of the economy, do you agree with this? The point of the economy is not intrinsically good. The point of growth in economy is to improve our well-being. Like the ultimate goal is increasing the well-being of the highest number of people. Do you agree with that? That's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the economy is growing, but it's not leading to increasing the well-being of highest number of individuals, that inherently is not good. The whole point of the economy is to serve mankind and make them better off. But if the economy is growing on the back of the misery of a large number of people, then that's not intrinsically a good thing. Do you agree?
Well, that depends, because when you said that the economy is designed to help,
I didn't say design. I never once used the word design. I didn't once use the word design. I said the whole point of us wanting the economy to grow, because economy growing is not intrinsically a good thing, because it leads to a good thing. That's why we want it. The ultimate goal is not growth of the economy. The ultimate goal is to improve the well-being of the highest number of individuals. That's the goal. We want people to be happy. We want to reduce misery. That's our goal. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if that is our goal, imagine you have a large part of the population enslaved, okay, and it's not good for them. Their well-being is not improving because because they're slaves. Their well-being is being sacrificed. If that leads to the growth of the economy, which I could argue that actually liberty and freedom leads to the highest amount of growth in the economy. But even if we assume that you're right, sacrificing well-being for the growth of the economy is missing the point of why we want the economy to grow.
Well, in that time, the economy grew because of slavery, because
That's not the point I'm making. I'm not even disputing that. I'm saying the economy growing is not intrinsically a good thing. Right. You say that time slavery made the economy grow. I'm not challenging that. I'm saying if the economy grows because more people on the back of the misery of a large number of people, that's not something that we should support. We want the economy. The economy should be in the service of people. The people shouldn't be in the service of the economy. The economy should be in the service of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, it's good, man. And also, I'd like to throw this one on there. I mean, it's a little old and used, but I mean, be honest, Ben. Like, would you want to be a slave under the Bible rules? Like, would you want to do that? Would you want to be in that position?
It depends on what position I was in before I was a slave.
Does it really though? Does it really depend on what your life was like before that? Because ultimately what you're doing is you're selling yourself, you're selling your future, you're selling any children you might have, any offspring that they might have. You're ultimately putting yourself in a place of essentially constant torture, right? You're not free. You don't have the ability to make any decisions. That idea of you dying in the desert going, if only I could get some water, I could do all these wonderful things. Well, great, you have water, but you will always be barred from doing any of those wonderful things. Like, is it really a better position?
The point that I was making is that, for one, it depends on the position I was in before, because if I'm in the desert starving, of course I would take indentured servitude over starving in the desert.
Why?
But aside from that...
Why, Benjamin? Why would you do that? Did you not hear anything that I just said?
Well, I heard you, but I'm going to explain why. Indentured servitude, you would have housing, that you would have a house on the property that you would live in?
Not necessarily. Why are you thinking that this is going to turn out in a position that gives you all the best attributes of this? There is two sides to this coin, brother. And one side of that coin is you're my fucking property. And if I want to tie your ass up to a post outside in the rain and the snow, I can fucking do that. You have no idea what's going to happen to you. All of your agency is stripped from you by your choice. Is that really better?
Well, given the circumstances, I would rather have a house than be homeless.
You don't get a house. That's not what you get here. You get chains on your neck that chains you up wherever the fuck I chain you, man. You're not getting food. You're not getting shelter and security. What you're getting is whatever scraps I'm so gracious to kick your way in the dirt, man. You're thinking about this in a perspective of like, I don't know, man, maybe they'll be super nice to me. But there's no fucking guarantee that that's even on the table for anybody. But even if it was, it's still disgusting morally. And I'm super happy that we started out this call with you admitting that. Like, I'm really glad about that, man, because there are a lot of people who wouldn't even say that. But like, it's just odd. It's odd to me that we would try so hard to think like, well, maybe there isn't all bad to murder, you know? Maybe just indiscriminately slaughtering children has some upsides to it. That's a really weird choice, in my opinion, you know, for exerting mental effort, Benjamin. But I'm really glad, again, I am really glad that you came on and were very honest, and you were willing to be like, yeah, man, that's actually a good point. Because Armin raised a good few points, I thought. I totally agree. What's the point of growing our economy if it's on the backs of, 51%, 90% of the people just completely making their lives miserable? I think that's a great point, man. And I'm glad you were open to hearing that and kind of changing your position on that. We're gonna move on here in just a second, Ben, because we got a bunch of other calls. But Armin, was there anything else you wanted to throw at him before we moved on? You muted.
Wait. Okay, no, I mean, I could talk for hours about this, but I just want to say I appreciate how open-minded Benjamin is. Like, he's here to just throw ideas at us and like rethink things. So. It's very good to hear somebody who's like not very like is open to agreeing whether or not the positions that he's holding is correct. Like, we don't get that many calls like that, so I appreciate Benjamin.
I agree. I totally agree with that, Benjamin, and definitely please give us a call back in the future. Hang out with us again, and let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk about like why God would want slavery, because it seems to me the Bible is saying like, yeah, God wants this. God's cool with it. So give us a call back next time on that, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's nice to have, even though I think it's totally ridiculous, I still really appreciated that. Yeah, he called in and was willing to take some of those points on. Dude, we got a lot of like super chats and stuff. So I'm going to read these real quick. We've got Miranda Rinsberger, been a member for 6 months, sending $5 saying, I don't care about the afterlife. I just want to see Armin's dog. Well, I am telling you folks that if you like this stream right here, right now, as you hear me saying this, you will get multiple Armin's dogs in heaven. You will just have a sea of adorable, fluffy puppies that will love you and yeah, whatever. Again, it's all fake. It's all made up. I can offer whatever I want.
If she knocks the door, I will let her in. Sometimes she just comes, knocks the door, because she wants a hug or a belly rub.
If you like the stream right here, right now, and share it on social media, that message will get to Armin's dogs through some spiritual whatever mumbo jumbo. Again, it's all made up. So again, I can say whatever I want.
But that's something I love about her. She comes and she knocks the door. She's like, "Yeah, I miss you.
I miss you. Yeah, I just want love. I just want love." We've got $5 from Afrostorian saying, "How do you measure the alcohol content in communion wine? Proof of God." Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that because like instead of like 50 proof or whatever. Yeah, that's good. I like that one. That's good. Pibblepunk, half dog, half canine, $5. If we came from monkeys, does free will justify suffering? We didn't come from monkeys. And then does free will justify suffering? Not on most conceptions of God. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't have anything to do with the most important suffering, which is natural suffering. So quantum answer. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Armin, did you want to say anything on that, or I didn't know if you wanted to?
I didn't. To be honest, I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was a great question, but either way, it's fine. We gave some answer. Quantum answer, a member for 2 years, gifted 10 more Atheist Experience memberships. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then we've got $10 from somebody that I cannot pronounce your name because it is in a different language. And it says, "I believe that Jesus Christ is a man created from a woman without a man, and Eve is a woman created from a male without a woman. I think the Antichrist will be a woman. I believe in that." Huh. I don't really have any thoughts on that. I mean, Jesus Christ is a man created from a woman without a man. Yeah, that's the story. Eve is a woman created from a male without a woman. Yeah, that's the story. I think the Antichrist will be a woman. I believe in that. Okay, well, that's...
I could have read that name. It was Marcel. Yeah, it was, I think, Marcel Jubin, I think, okay. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about the Antichrist? No, I'm not even gonna go into it. I don't know what to say. The story is silly. And I don't know. I doubt that the end part of it is gonna make more sense if the beginning is so ridiculous. But let's see. We've got $2 Canadian from David Haxer. Been a member for 2 months. Slavery is okay as long as I'm not the slave. Being sarcastic there, obviously. Yes, I agree with you. I think that's the whole point of like the veil of ignorance, right? It's like you don't know where you're going to be. And then we've got David Haxer gifting 20 Atheist Experience memberships. Thank you so much. Growing the community. I love it. I love to see the members in the chat. And I love to see all the little emojis that you can spam. Which you're allowed to do that. We've got other great calls. I've got some announcements. I am going to hold off on those announcements, actually, because I'm going to go to another call. We're going to go to Ohio. Caleb, him, is a theist and wants to ask our thoughts on scientific evidence against God's existence. Well, hey, Caleb, you're chatting with Armin, Nevabi, and SR. What's up?
Hi. So, I mean, yeah, you got it. I was just wondering... what do you guys, because I know this is the Atheist Experience, and atheists meaning you guys don't believe in God, or else you don't think there's sufficient evidence for you guys to believe in God. And so I was just wondering, what would you say is like what you think scientific evidence against God's existence? Because like I'm a Christian, but I just wanted to ask your guys' opinion on that.
Yeah, Armin?
Which God? The Christian God?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Hello?
Caleb, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Armin was asking which God were you talking about? Were you talking about like the Christian, the God of the Bible, like Protestant, probably?
Yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian.
Okay.
Denomination doesn't really matter.
I know you're a Christian, but you could, as a Christian, you might be asking us just like any form of a deity that is the creator of the universe. Like maybe you're not very picky about making about the Jesus as a God or the God of the Bible. Maybe you're like any form of a conscious being that is the creator of the universe. You would be okay with it, or you're specifically talking about a God within the framework of the Judeo-Christian ideology.
Well, I mean, I was just wondering because I know that you guys don't believe in like any higher power, right? Like you don't believe in the supernatural. So I was just wondering like why you don't think that there's a higher power, like what you think is evidence against there being supernatural or
So
like
we're
higher
not
power.
saying. So it
Just kind of
depends.
general.
This is why I'm asking which God you're talking about, because at least me and Elliot, I don't think we're making claims here, unless your God is self-contradictory. We're not making claims. We're not making the claim that there is no God. We're saying we don't believe in a God because people who do believe in God haven't provided any evidence for it. So we just lack belief until there is any evidence. But there are some definitions of God that we could argue against, but we usually don't do that because we don't need to, because the believers haven't even begun to provide any evidence for the existence of God. That's why we just sit back and we just enjoy not seeing any evidence from believers and call it out. But it seems like you're trying to shift the burden of proof on the atheist. I mean, I'm happy to do that for fun, but do you understand that why we don't have to provide any evidence for the lack of existence of God? The person who's making a claim, that's the person that has to provide the evidence. Do you understand that point?
Yes, I understand that claim, but I was asking you guys also. So, like, do you think that Christians or like the theists have to have evidence, but you guys don't? Because you said that it's the lack of evidence for you guys, but like we're the ones who have to provide evidence. You guys do like make the claim. Like,
It depends if we're making the stance that your particular deity doesn't exist, right? So like if Armin and I are taking the positive claim that, hey, there is actually sufficient justification to accept not simply that it is not true or not justified, but that it is unjustified, that it is specifically false. There is positive confirmation that it is not true. It is false, right? If that's the stance we're taking, well, then, yeah, of course we'd need to provide evidence. If what we're saying is, hey, you came up to me, said, this thing's real, and then that was the end of it, then yeah, we're not saying, hey man, that thing positively doesn't exist necessarily, right? We're just simply saying the information currently provided is not sufficient to justify us accepting that claim. Does that make sense?
Let me make this simple, by the way, Caleb, let me make this simple. Like, let me make a claim right now, okay? I have an elephant right now, a baby elephant, right now sleeping in my bedroom on my bed. All right? Do you believe me?
Yes.
You believe me?
It sounds unlikely. It sounds unlikely.
Okay, no, the question is, do you believe me? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, that's a very good response. I would like that. That's a proper response. Okay, because I haven't provided you any evidence, you shouldn't believe me. You should not believe me. That's a justified position that you have right now. Okay, can you prove that there is no elephant in my bedroom right now? Can you prove it?
Yeah, I could go there. I could go.
No, you don't know where I live.
Yeah, he's saying like right now when Armin's making the claim. Do you have any way of disproving?
The answer is you can't. You can't. But even though you're justified to say I don't believe you, without being able to prove it, without being able to prove that there's no elephant in my bedroom. Right now, you have no way of proving that there's no elephant in my bedroom. Even if you wanted to, you would not be able to find me. You don't know where I live. But still, you're justified in not believing me because I didn't provide you with any reason to believe me. So because you're not claiming. So here, Caleb, you didn't say that there's no elephant in my bedroom. You didn't actually make a claim. If you actually had made the claim that, no, Armin, I'm making the claim that there's no elephant in your bedroom, then I would like, okay, you made the claim. Now you have to provide an evidence for your claim. But you didn't make a claim. You just simply refused to accept my claim. Because I failed to give you evidence, you don't need evidence. My failure to provide you with evidence makes your position justifiable. Your lack of belief, you're not making a claim, you're just not accepting my claim. you without evidence, you have a justifiable position. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. But I unlike the elephant thing and like the no evidence thing, I do think that there is evidence for God's existence. I do think that there is evidence.
Perfect.
For power, and I think
What?
that-
Give us one then. Just stick with any one. Normally we say like, hey, what's your favorite or what's the strongest? Because that tends to make the most sense. Like, give us the best one. But honestly, I'll just accept any. Give us one piece of evidence, Caleb, that you think it serves as justification for believing there is a God. And let's talk about it.
Have you guys heard of the cosmological argument?
Yeah.
The way that I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Frank Turek.
Yeah. I've heard of him.
Have you guys-
I thought you were going to mention Craig, but because William Lane Craig is the guy that created the Kalam cosmological argument. It's and he bases that on 14th century
It's more
Muslim
like a
arguments.
philosophical one.
Yeah, go ahead.
But anyway, so what I was saying though is do you guys believe that the universe had a beginning? Because this is the first part of the argument is saying that the universe had a beginning, and I'll tell you why.
We can just grant the first start the first thing of the Kalam. I mean, I have problems with it, and we've had many discussions that are all recorded, and I definitely would suggest going back and looking at some of those to hear how we've hashed this out for years. But the first Kalam cosmological argument, we'll just let it go, man. The everything that has a beginning has a cause. The universe had a beginning. The universe has a cause. I mean, we can accept that and move on from there.
Cosmological argument. The Kalam cosmological argument and the cosmological argument are two different things. The cosmological argument, as I have learned about it, especially from the curriculum I was doing, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist curriculum. I don't want to get into to what that title means or faith or whatever. But the way I've learned that,
pretty confident Turek is just cribbing from Craig. But if you just want to give us the argument, then we can just go there. Like that'll just be quicker.
Okay, so what I'm saying though is that you said, granted, the universe had a beginning. So if the universe had a beginning, the universe couldn't have created itself, because like you see, before I was born, I couldn't have created myself. I didn't exist to create myself. I didn't exist at the time. And so if the universe had a beginning, then that had a starting point. It is not infinite.
So the problem here is one of equivocation already. Hang on, this is important, because what you're doing with the term universe there is you're using it in different ways. So when you're first using it, you're talking about the local presentation of space-time that has to deal with things like the Higgs field and, particles having mass and spin and charge and all that jazz, okay? But then you're shifting that terminology to represent the universe, meaning all of everything that could or has existed, right? So that is a problem because we don't have any way to know that. So the universe in its current presentation, it does seem to make sense that before that existed, it wasn't capable for that to make itself, right? But if you're saying the universe, the cosmos, in that sense of everything that's going on, neither of us have knowledge on that, so you can't make that claim.
Let him. Can you give your best understanding of this whole argument from beginning to end in just a few lines?
Yeah, do that.
The cosmological argument?
Yeah, just your understanding of it in just a few lines.
Okay, so what I was saying is that the cosmological argument states that if the universe had a beginning, this is evidenced by an acronym that Frank Turek uses, SURGE, S-U-R-G-E. One of the S is the second law of thermodynamics. The U is the universe expanding.
You're doing a very poor job at explaining it.
Yeah. Can you give what Armin was asking for was like the premises and then the conclusion? Can you just snip it for us? Give us a succinct version so that we can kind of take it all. Is what he was asking for.
This to conclusion like that,
right? If you can't, that's okay.
The reason why No, the reason why I'm doing that is because I want you guys to understand what I'm saying. Because I feel like
No, we understand. In fairness, like you're not the first person to ever talk about this. You're not. We've talked about this a lot, and what we're trying to do is just like expediency's sake. You're not the only caller, you know. So if you could just do what Armin said.
You're not introducing this argument to us. I heard to burst your bubble. We have been dealing with this argument for more than a decade here. Okay, so but I want your version of it. Okay, just go through it, premise, and we have so many other callers, so I just want to see how you form this argument. And by the way, this is not an evidence. This is rationalism. This is not empiricism. So don't call it evidence. This is an argument. But go on.
Well, the argument's based on evidence. The argument's based on the evidence of the universe at the beginning. What do you think is outside of the law?
Empirical data. You don't have that. But go on. But make the argument. Make the argument. Premise 1, premise 2, conclusion. Yeah, but make it, for crying out loud. Just make the argument.
I'm trying to. I'm saying I'm just not putting it in the exact way that you want. I asked you a question that has to do with the argument.
Okay, so Caleb. Caleb, stop. Caleb, you sound to me like an individual who most likely has existed longer than 24 hours. That seems to be the case, which means I feel very confident you have at least some familiarity with a call-in show, okay? This particular one has been going on for like 2.5 decades, okay? So I understand that you would really appreciate if we had 45 minutes to sit there and listen to all of the varying points that you would like to add before just getting to what the fuck you're trying to say. What I would suggest, just do the thing that Armin's asking for, and you'll get more time to talk. It really is that simple, man. Because again, we've got other callers. We've got other things to do. I'm behind on my announcements that I'm supposed to say. And the crew has already yelled at me and said, Jesus Christ, SR, what the fuck? We're never going to let you back on. Okay. So what I'm saying is, for expediency's sake, please just do what Armin said, man. Pretty simple. Just give us the argument. And from there, then we can start talking about all the evidence, all the reasons that you have this argument. But again, just in fairness to what Armin said, like, this is different than the evidence. This is the rationalism side. This is the argument side. The evidence stuff comes after this to support the premises. But you're going to hear a beep because I'm unmuting you. Okay, so you're back on. Give us just succinctly your understanding of this argument. And then I'm gonna kick it to Armin so he can combat it.
Okay, so what I think I'm going to do, actually, so I didn't really think about presenting the argument in a premise by premise way, but I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to like call back when I have it in a better way and where I can explain it quicker.
I love that. I love that, Caleb. I freaking love that, dude. Thank you so much. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome, man. We are 2 calls in, and I am freaking loving our callers so far. Caleb, beautiful. Armin, do you have something else you want to say real quick?
Can I recommend? That's very good, Caleb. That's a very good response. I'm actually surprised that you gave that response. I'm as excited as Elliot is. May I recommend also that if you go and study how this argument is formed, also try, before you call, also study the pushback against it. Like, try to understand why so many people, every single premise of this argument has a lot of holes in it, and there have been people for hundreds of years that have been showing how flawed this argument is. And even if you accept every single premise, the conclusion doesn't even follow from the premises. This is one of the worst arguments I've ever heard. I mean, actually, I don't know. They're all so bad. I don't know which one is worse. But this argument is so flawed. None of the premises could be supported, and even if they could, the conclusion doesn't follow. So while you study this argument, study all the arguments against it as well, so you come very equipped to be able to handle it, to defend it. Okay, try reading the opposite side as well, not just the people who are defending the argument.
Yeah, seriously, Caleb, that's awesome, man. I think this was a great freaking call, and I am excited to speak with you again in the future. Seriously, man, I love that. And yeah, we're going to let you go and grab some other people, but I really appreciate that honesty. And look, folks, this is important that we have moments like that, okay? Because I bet you right now, Armin, I'm not even looking at the live chat, but I bet you there's some people out there that are like, fucking owned him, fucking got him. Like, no, guys, stop making it seem like not knowing things off the top of your head is some huge, character flaw or something. That like being incorrect on some super nuanced point just makes you a terrible piece of shit. Like, calm that down. We have all been wrong. And funny enough, we are all wrong right now about something. And the only reason we haven't figured it out and changed our minds is because we don't know it yet. It's okay to take more time to study things, to come back when you're fresh with bullet points and notes. That is beautiful. I wish everybody would act like that, whether you're a believer or not. It's a good way to live. We've got more super chats and things. Jonathan France sending $1.99. Armin, is there a farting turtle in each of these mansions in heaven? Because we do need to know this. Because if we're offering these mansions in heaven to our audience out there, we should know. I think there should be. If there isn't one, we'll put one in.
Well, the problem is that Islamically, heaven should be the end of everything. Like, that's the final destination. And these farting turtles begin universes.
Begin more universes.
End of the universe creation process. It's the end of creation. So you could have farting turtles, but they're not going to start universes with their farts.
I don't know that it has to be completely consistent. It can be a little logically incoherent. It's fine. It just fits right along with the rest of them. Pibble Punk, half dog, half canine, sending $5 saying, I was just trying to be funny earlier, but for the record, humans not only came from monkeys, we're still monkeys right now. Yeah, that is true. We are, and no, I was going to say something terrible. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay, Shane Heinzman, $20. In a previous show, Armin commented that if he knew that there was a God with the threat of hell, that he would believe. It is easy to get caught up in the anti-theist rebellion. I appreciate his honesty. Yes, I agree. I would also believe. It's just, would I worship? Yeah,
so the question was the worship part, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. The question was, yeah.
Then you have to believe, technically.
Right, you would have to believe. Right, you'd be forced to believe. Yeah. But we're not going to talk about this. Armin called me a coward that day. It was great. It was great. Go back, check it out. It was an awesome conversation. Rainbow Wolf sending $9.99 saying, reverse ontological argument. The more we don't believe in gods or the supernatural, the more knowledge we get. Ergo, disbelief in God and the supernatural are the preconditions for knowledge. I'm not sure this is totally valid, but I like it, and so I'm not going to be super picky. David Haxer, a member for 2 months, sending $2 Canadian saying, praise elephant. I agree. I was really worried for a second. I was really worried. He was like, yeah, I believe you. I was like, whoa, wait a second. What? No, come on, man. Have some more skepticism. Rainbow Wolf oh no, wait, I missed one. I'm sorry. David Haxer, member for 2 months, sending $5 Canadian saying, Kalam, everything had a beginning, therefore my specific version of theism. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much, yeah. That's kind of what it goes to. Rainbow Wolf sending $4.99 saying, has Caleb or Turek submitted their second law of thermodynamic claims for scientific peer review in a reputable journal? No, I wonder why that is. Yeah, me too. And Quantum Answer, 2-year member, sending 100 Czech krona. Kalam is horrible, special pleading, excluding everything without reason via extra rules that your conclusion magically can do, false dichotomy, only God can be solution, why, etc., just bleh. I agree. And the crew has specifically mentioned that they did not, in fact, yell at me. They want me to make that very clear. I am sorry, crew. I am not saying this under duress. Please, folks, believe me. Nobody is forcing me to say that our crew is the most wonderful crew ever in the world. Nobody is doing that, I promise. But I'm going to make some announcements, tell you some cool things that are happening. Like, for instance, tickets are now sold out for the annual Bat Cruise fundraiser. If you've got your tickets, get ready for a great time because there's going to be awesome show hosts like Forrest Valkai, J Mike, that SR guy might be there, Objectively Dan, Christy Powell, the Cross Examiner, Jimmy Jr., Kelly Laughlin, and so many other familiar faces, including many of the people that are in our wonderful crew cam. If you haven't got your tickets, that's okay. You can get added to the wait list. And if anyone cancels, you'll have a first come, first serve, second chance to join in on all the fun. So add your name to the wait list at tiny.cc/batcruise. And just as a reminder, even if you can't get onto the Bat Cruise, we are going to be hanging out at the Free Thought Library doing a live episodes of Talk Heathen and Atheist Experience. So why not, if you're in the frickin' Austin area, why not just come hang out with us either way, okay? You can actually see the bats from not on the cruise boat too. Like yeah, it is possible. We also have a channel that houses all of the shows of the ACA in audio podcast form. Check out tiny.cc/AEN podcasts. And there you can listen to all the latest shows from the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, the Nonprofits, and others on one easy and convenient channel. And before we grab more calls, I'm just going to remind you guys that if you want myself or Armin to say appropriate terms of service things, but still very silly or weird and confusing, you can do that just by sending a super chat. And in fact, I have it on very good authority that sending a super chat during this particular episode will increase your rewards in heaven. Again, you know, we can offer anything. It's all bullshit. It's all made up. Let's grab another call, Armin. We are going to grab Jeff. Him in Pennsylvania is a theist and thinks that reality is evidence for God. Well, Jeff, you were talking with Secular Rarity and Armin Navabi. What is up, man?
Hey, SR. It's good to speak to you again. Mr. Armin, I haven't spoken to you yet. It's great to be able to have the opportunity to speak to you as well. I think, SR, aren't you a former Christian?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Mr. Armin, I gather that you are a former believer in Islam. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to double check on that.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, you know, SR, I don't know if you remember that scripture that says, speaking of God, I think it was Paul that was saying, in him we live and move and have our being.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't remember exactly where it is in the Bible, but yeah, I understand that sentiment.
He was in, I think he was in Athens, and he was arguing with people that had a lot of idolatry, and he was referencing, I believe,
Jeff, before we get to scripture, I'm really excited about what you're calling about because you're going to provide evidence for God. So before we get to scripture, can we see that evidence? Because that sounds very exciting. I want to hear that.
Yeah, the evidence is reality. We live in reality, and God.
How is that evidence
reality.
of God?
He is the being that we exist in.
No. So Jeff. So we don't want to hear the claim. We want to hear the argument. Okay. Right. So explain to us how reality is evidence for God. And again, I know that when we get to this point, a lot of people just start repeating the claim. And some people assume repeating the claim is the evidence. We understood the claim. So connect the dots. Okay, say what the claim is. The claim is that there's a God, and so you have to. My understanding of God is a conscious creator of the universe. So I'm hoping you mean the same thing. And then you're saying reality by itself is the evidence for the existence of a conscious creator of the universe. And that's my understanding. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But please connect the dots to us so we understand what the claim. I think we understand the claim that you're making, but now make the argument. Okay.
Okay, hopefully this is not just repeating what I said, but it may sound like it, but I think I'm clarifying something for you. I'm saying that God is equivalent to reality. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is that understood?
Okay, then if that's the case, if that's what you're saying, then you don't need evidence, okay? Because I believe in your God. If you're just calling reality God, then your God is by definition real, because reality by definition is real. And if you're just, that's why we have the word real in reality, right? So by definition, if you're calling everything that is real God, then God has to be real by definition, right?
Yeah.
And I believe in your God. I just don't like to call reality God. I mean, if you want to call reality God, go ahead and do it. But that's kind of like saying, like, if I call, I don't know, my dog God, and then I say God is real, then I would be correct because my dog is real. But why would you use the word God? I mean, we could like argue whether or not that's the best use of the term God. But I believe you don't even need to provide evidence because your God by definition is real. Reality is all the things that are real. And God, if God is reality, then God is real. I believe in your God. I just don't like the word that you're using.
Yeah.
You don't even. Why would you require evidence for such a thing? This is by definition, your God has to be real.
That's the
ahead.
point. That's the point. It's like you guys are requiring evidence for the thing that you exist in.
But so the problem with this, Jeff, is the issue with this kind of equivocation, trying to purposefully put this concept that has quite a lot of well-documented history, quite a lot of criteria that quite a lot of people have said is necessary. You're taking this concept and you're making it an utter fucking joke. And I gotta be honest, I'm offended on behalf of the true believers in God out there right now, man, because I think it's great that you have looked at all of this silliness and said, it doesn't really mean all that. It's not being literal when it says like our God is an existing entity outside of reality that makes things and gives a shit about what you do with your life. I'm glad that you, as is the case with most believers, I'm glad that you are better and smarter than this shit belief system. But brother, what I'm trying to say is a lot of people think you're the worst kind of heretic. They don't even care about me. They're like, yeah, of course that idolater, atheist, jackass is going to hell. But see, you're the real problem, Jeff, because you're what's causing the Christian community to falter. Because you're just so willy-nilly about it. It's okay. Your God's everything, man. It's fucking reality. That's awesome, dude. But genuinely, I don't think this conversation is worthwhile to the vast majority of believers. It definitely isn't worthwhile to the vast majority of non-believers. I'm in the same freaking boat as Armin here. Like, if you're just genuinely telling me, like, hey, actually, when I say the word God, I just mean this cup of lemonade, SR. Great, man. I believe your God exists, but that's really, really worthless, in my opinion, to get to that point. And if from there, which I suspect you do, if from there you then want to add all these additional attributes and stuff, you're right back into the same boat where it's like, man, we have to have this whole conversation again about whether or not this thing is real and capable of doing that. Because if truly your God is equivalent to quantum mechanics, the lake that's down the road from me, and my fucking car, man, I mean, that's fine, man. But like, you got to recognize you're really the one that's on the outside of the religious belief there. You're not in line with the vast majority of religious believers.
Well, my belief comes from the Word of God. The reality that.
But in fairness, man, you're a heretic. You're a heretic that would be burned at the stake before Armin and I would. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can make that claim that this is scriptural, this is coming from the Word of God, but it just isn't the case that the majority of learned, believing Christians who have been pillars of the Christian faith and community have been influential to common understandings in Christianity. All of those people would disagree with you. All of them would. Sorry, I know I was rambling and we got the puppy on screen and it's like, who cares what I'm saying? That dog is fucking adorable. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Are you hearing me? SR, it didn't sound like you were hearing what I was saying. It was just like I know you were on your ramble, but
I am hearing you, man. I can hear you. Go ahead, say it again.
Like you really, you feel it sounds like you're in the indignant rant right now. And I'm just basically, again, I'm trying to be as succinct as I can.
Go ahead, try.
And I think what I'm saying is, and I try to say it with the words of Paul earlier, but really it's really what God has revealed about himself. The I am that made himself.
You cannot. So you cannot talk about what God has revealed. We're not even there yet, right? We haven't even agreed that there is a God, right? So don't talk about what God has revealed. We haven't even yet got to the point for us to believe in a God. So when you're talking, it's useless to talk to people who don't believe in God and tell them that God has revealed this and that. You shouldn't be even, you know how idiotic it is to tell people who don't believe in God what God has revealed? You have to start by actually showing that there is a God, right? So you said God is reality. And I say, if God is reality, okay, then reality is real, so you don't need evidence. Like, oh, so yeah, you said like that's what you were trying to tell us, that you don't need evidence. But you called by saying that you're here with evidence. You don't require any evidence to show that reality is real, because reality is real by definition. And when we say we need evidence for belief in God, we're not talking about a God that is just another name for reality. We're talking about the conscious creator of the universe. That's what we are requiring an evidence for, right? And also a God that talks, a God that reveals himself. Oh my God, my dog is upset. She wants more attention. A God that can talk, a God that has a relationship with humans. That's the kind of God that we require an evidence for, not a God that you're just naming reality after, right? So do you agree that the God that you're defending is not necessarily just reality? Because you said God revealed himself. If reality is capable of revealing himself or having communication with humans, you need to provide a separate argument or separate evidence for that, right? So what do you mean by God? Do you just mean all of reality? And if you mean all of reality, now you have to show us how all of reality can talk, all of reality can have a communication with certain individuals like Paul. Do you have any specific evidence for that? I don't care about the content of that communication. I care about you proving that reality is capable of doing that. Is reality conscious? Is reality self-aware? Does reality all of reality have human characteristics? Because these are the claim I'm interested in. You calling reality God and saying God is real because reality is real, that is not interesting at all. If you are now attributing human characteristics to all of reality and saying that it could talk, now that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I require evidence for. Do you actually have evidence for any of that? Or are you just going to just read scripture for us, which is useless?
Is there evidence for reality, Armin?
See, this is not worth it.
Did you listen to anything I said?
This is not worth it.
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
It's not worth it.
Did I ask for evidence for reality, or did I ask for evidence that reality has the human characteristics that you just attributed to reality? Did you even pay attention to a single word that came out of my mouth?
You laid that out so well.
Yes, I did. I listened to every word you said. Every word.
So then why would you respond by asking Armin if there's evidence for reality, Jeff? If you actually listened and understood what he just said, why would you respond by asking, is there evidence for reality, Armin? Because obviously, based on what he and I both have said repeatedly, we agree with that. That's not what we're interested in. That's not the most important part. So are you going to address the most important part that Armin very clearly laid out?
Okay. You're saying he laid out something very clear that I'm...
Okay, hang on then, Jeff. That's fine. What we'll do, we'll rewind the tape a little bit. Hey, Armin, it sounded to me like you were, just a moment ago, you were pointing out some nuanced, specific thing that you have a problem with Jeff's construction here about like God is just reality. Well, could you tell us that again, and then Jeff will respond?
Yeah, I specifically said the opposite. Jeff, you say you were listening. I specifically said the opposite. I said you do not require evidence to show that reality is real because reality is real by definition. I specifically said I'm interested in the other parts of your claim. You are attributing some characteristics, some human characteristics to reality, consciousness, self-awareness, ability to communicate to individuals, all of reality, and those are the claims that I require evidence for. So I literally said the opposite of what you said you heard. So you are not paying attention.
So address those points.
For missing that.
Okay. So it's okay. So now that you understand, do you have evidence for that? I'm not asking for you to provide me evidence for reality. I know reality is real because that's in the definition. I require for you to give me evidence that all of reality as an entity is self-aware, conscious, cares about us, gets angry, gets happy, picks certain individuals, gives them revelation. Do you have evidence for that?
Christ is the evidence that was made flesh and dwelt among us. And
how is Christ the evidence? Just real quick, make that connection for us. This was something Armin asked about earlier. Make that connection for us. We grant that you're saying he's the thing, but give us the connection. How does that make sense?
Well, God said, "This is my son in whom I am well pleased." Listen.
We haven't established that there is a God. Jeff, do you understand that when you say God said, that's with the assumption that there's a God? In your argument for God, a God that could talk, in an argument, you can't have the thing that you're trying to prove within the argument. Do you understand, Jeff? Like if you're trying to structure an argument, the conclusion of the argument cannot be within the argument itself. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, but I think you're missing something when you're saying that.
I'm not missing anything. You're trying to you have a conclusion in mind, and then you're using the thing that we're trying to get. You're using the destination within the framework of the argument. You cannot do that. That's basic, logical. That's basic logic. Yeah. I'm not missing anything. Do not use the words God said as a way to prove that God can say
if you're missing anything? Just like I missed something. How would you know that? How would you know?
I know. Let me tell you, because this is very basic, Jeff. Because you're trying to get to God, and then you're using God. So I know I'm not missing anything. This is so simple.
Listen. I'm not trying to get to God. I'm already in God, and you are in God.
Okay. So then the reason that you called was not true. Yeah, so the reason that you called was not true. You were just here for no good purpose or anything, man. This is silly. This is nonsensical. And this is why people like you in your belief system are more and more waking up and recognizing that what they're believing is a fucking joke, man. It's a total waste of time because you're not part of the believers' camp. Again, I'm telling you, you're a worse heretic in so many people's eyes than myself or Armin because you have this lukewarm, wishy-washy bullshit. That's what you believe. And yet, I guarantee you still add on all of the things that Armin was talking about. All of the things that are truly where the problems and the harm come from. You have gotten rid of the best attribute about this belief and kept all of the worst parts, because at least with somebody who has true criteria, a true seeming justification in their eyes, despite how wrong it may be, for their belief in a God, at least those people are consistent and have something to point to. You, on the other hand, have kept all of the shit and taken away your only reasonable chance of having justification for it. Armin, give us your last thoughts on this, and I'm going to let him go.
I just want to thank Jeff for making the point that you don't have anything to get us to God, because at the end of it, he basically showed what the whole point is, what the whole point of this call is, right?
Yeah.
The point of the call is not for us to get from arguments to God, because you don't have that. The point of this call is to preach. And I think believers have gotten too used to society, like people who have to listen to their preaching, and this is like a new thing for them, because we want arguments, we want a logical sound and valid argument that gets us from point A to point B. And they're not used to people demanding that. They're used to just preaching over, like just on and on and on and on, and making useless statements that gets us nowhere. And the other side just listening and just nodding or just submitting. And this is not going to work anymore. Society is like, yeah, this is all bullshit. This is all nonsense. And you actually have to make a point. And when you hold the feet to the fire and tell them that, yeah, this is not actually a valid argument, Jeff did a beautiful thing, and he came out and he showed that he is not actually interested in making an argument. Like, I'm not trying to get to God. Well, thank you, Jeff. You're here to preach. You're not here to argue. You're here to preach, and we're not going to let you, because we have better things to do. We're here for arguments, not people who want to just preach.
Yep, totally agree. And with that, Jeff, we're going to let you go, man. And if you want to call back in the future, man, call us back. Honestly, I think there is a good conversation to be had. But I totally agree with you, Armin. It frustrates me so hard whenever somebody takes the time out of their day to make the conscious choice to come to a space where they know for a fact this is the conversation that's going to be had. And after 20 fucking minutes of it, they go, well, I'm not really interested in proving God. It's like, no, that's fucking garbage, man. That is bullshit. I again, as a Christian, I wasn't particularly fundamentalist. I wasn't somebody that ran around pointing people out and saying, that's not a real Christian. I didn't do that. But I'll tell you what I would have done if somebody like Jeff presented that to me. I would have been super fucking kind, and I would have listened to everything they said. And the moment I turned around, I would have known in my heart of hearts they weren't going to heaven, because they're not a Christian. That ideology, that wishy-washy, vague, whatever garbage, that keeps the worst parts of religion still alive. Because people think that they can hold on to that shit and it's better. It's not. It is cover for the absolute worst atrocities. Stop it. You're better than that. You are better than that. You are smarter than that. Oh, we had some good calls, and we've got more. We have a bunch more calls, but I can't go to them yet, Armin. And one reason I can't go to them yet is in part because of, my lack of skills, my inabilities. And I want to point this out to people. I want to let, people know it's okay that you don't know how to do everything, because sometimes there is a wonderful group of people who will volunteer way too much time and effort and give it on a weekly or daily basis, like the amazing, amazing crew that we have here at the ACA. Can we see those beautiful faces? Look how wonderful they are. They are working much, much harder than Armin or I ever. Also Kelly too. Kelly really doesn't do that much. Like, pick it up, dude. He's our backup, so I want to give him some crap. But seriously, our crew is wonderful. They are constantly out there working, whether it is the video operators, the audio operators, the note takers, the call screeners, the chat moderators, the people who answer your emails and questions. They are always doing something. And without them, Armin and I would just be yelling to each other, which, is actually pretty fun. Isn't that bad? We have fun times. But before we grab the next call, I want to remind you that the ACA wants you to know what is going on in this community. And for that, we've got an updated website. Just go to www.atheist-community.org. You can learn about the organization itself, its policies, all the cool things that are coming up and happening, and how you can get involved yourself. Many, many of us on the shows, we're just fans and volunteers. And here we are now, getting to yell at people about their wishy-washy bullshit. Was that too mean? Was that too mean, Armin? Was I mean? I don't want to be mean. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Do we have? Hang on. Let me check real quick. Do we have some super chats? I think we did. Okay. David Haxer, a member for 2 months, given $2 Canadian, saying appropriate terms of service things. Yeah. That works. I will. Yeah, I will read that on screen. Okay, we've got William Matz sending $5 saying, Bibbles Hanbul, Serbipo Lop. So really took it to heart that make us read stupid, silly things. All right, I appreciate it, William. I didn't know if anybody was, and you were that brave soul. So thank you very, very much for that. We have... Quantum Answer, member for 2 years, sending 100 Czech krona. Premise 1, every Kalam argument starts with universe having beginning. Premise 2, every such an argument stinks. Premise 3, every such an argument is made from insecure shell of belief. The conclusion, therefore, universe farting turtle. I'm just going to be honest there, and I'm going to say valid and sound. No, not putting any effort into looking into that whatsoever. Valid and sound, we have proven. The universe farting turtle is...
That's a very good point. The cosmological argument actually does, as much as it proves their God.
Oh, yeah, it does. Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
How does it not? If it's supposed to prove God, it also proves the
absolutely it does. Well, I think we've got even better evidence of the proof of the universe farting turtle. And Miranda Rensberger, a member for 6 months, sent us $5 and is pointing something out that what is the need to give reality a different name or turn it into something supernatural? I completely agree with you. Also, Puppy, and if you remember correctly, I do believe earlier in this stream, I made the claim that if everybody would like and send their thoughts, the universe farting turtle would in fact bring Armin's puppy on screen. It happened. This is proof. I'm a prophet, and the universe farting turtle is real. Suck it, Allah. Grumpy Butterfly, a member for 2 months, sending $5 saying, I believe in dog. I do too. We have a bunch more calls, and I am excited to grab some. And I will go ahead and let you know that we are going to be hanging out in the atheist community of Discord after the show for a little bit, chatting and taking calls or whatever, answering questions. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something. So come hang out. Armin, can you see all the calls? Do you see them?
Yes.
You got them up? I think 19. You want to go to 19 first?
Sure, yeah.
I like this one. And I'm going to answer in reverse order for you, Mike. But we are going to grab Mike, no pronouns given, is a theist in South Carolina, wants to talk about the origins of the universe and ask what motivates us to host this show. Well, Mike, this is Secular Rarity, and I'm going to give you my thoughts first, and then I will kick it over to Armin. So what I'll say real quickly, and like I said, in reverse order, what motivates me to host this show? A couple of different things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, one of the biggest motivations is the continued perpetuation of harmful beliefs, the active harm that is caused on a daily basis by people who believe things that are not evidently true. That undeniably motivates me every single fucking day to be here. And then when it comes to the origin of the universe, I'm just going to be honest, man. Don't have a lot of knowledge on that. It seems like there's some really smart people that have some understanding about like false vacuum state to a real vacuum state thing, Higgs boson and so forth. But yeah, don't have a shit ton of knowledge there. Armin, what do you think, man? What about the origins of the universe, and what motivates you to do this?
Well, what motivates me to do this is not like as poetic and everything like yours. It's not that
you're just a selfish prick. Is that it? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my reason for being this is because since I don't know how old I was, I just followed the atheist experience. As you know, and when I became an atheist, I was still, very young, and we grew. A huge part of that was feeling extremely isolated and alone. And the atheist experience was one of the first few shows that we saw, especially ex-Muslims discovering that there's a show about atheism. It just broke the taboo. It made us feel connected to these people somewhere that we didn't know. And just looking up to that for all these years, looking at the atheist experience and being inspired by it, and thinking that there's some other people somewhere like us that feel like this. And just looking up to these people, to this show, to this community. So I was just such a huge fan, and I admired it so much. So when I was given the opportunity to be part of it, I couldn't even believe that I had that chance. I was just such a big fan that I was being part of something so big and so great that I looked up to for all these years. I mean, how could I say no to that? So yeah, my reasons are selfish. I was just such a huge fan that I was like, oh my God, this is like a dream come true for me. So that's my reasons for why I'm here. Because I'm such a huge fan. I don't know.
I know we shouted a bunch of stuff, Mike, but yeah, give us some thoughts, man. What you got for us?
Hey, sure. First of all, I just want to say that I've called it a number of times and talked to different hosts and whatnot.
Are you on, real quick, sorry, Mike, I don't want to interrupt, but are you on speakerphone by any chance?
I've got little iPods on my phone.
Like little headphones?
Yeah, they're like little iPods. Can you hear that or no?
Yeah, it just sounds like you're way far away. It sounds like you're talking to us through a tin can at the end of a tunnel. Like, could you just put your face like right up next to the microphone? Maybe we can fix this real quick. Say again?
Hey, is that better?
Not really. Yeah, we'll just power through it. We'll just power through it for a few minutes. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, this is so sad. Here, hold on. I'll put you on speaker. I'll make it right.
We'll see.
I'm so sorry about this.
That's okay.
Can you hear me now?
That's actually the clearest so far. Let's just stay right there. Yeah.
Very good. Hey, I wanted to say shout out to you that I've talked to Atheist Experience a number of times. I'm not an atheist, but anyway, you're between you two, you're my first and third favorite hosts. So
hey, that's awesome.
Let's figure out.
That's awesome. We all know. We all know. Armin's number one. It's
yeah. I'll let you argue about it on your boat cruise. So whatever that.
We actually both want the third slot. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Also, a quick comment about Armin and his elephant. I knew two guys in college, lived across the hall, and if they said they had an elephant in their bed, I'd believe them.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Mike. What you got for the origins of the universe? Why does that make us believe in a God?
One for you, secular.
Okay.
You ready, secular?
Yeah.
If you were a slave owner, you would just be savage. I would not want to be your slave. It's a little rough, man.
I am. I'm pretty intense. Yeah.
So you're.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intense. All right. Thank you. All right.
You buttered us up enough, anyway, man. What you got?
Yeah, that's what I do, man. I guess one of my things are as far as talking about the origin of the universe and all that. I don't want to go over it too much more. You guys are kind of rough on the other guys. it's interesting that the universe has a beginning, and if it does, then something has to be outside of time to create it. That's where I'm from. But here's a question for you. If evolution is true, we run societies by evolution. I think those societies would be they would not be very livable. Everybody would be selfish.
Wait, why should we run societies by evolution? That makes no sense.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, evolution is something within nature. Why do we have to use what's happening in nature as a role model for how we organize society? In fact, in liberal societies, we're trying to achieve. In fact, if metaphorically nature had a goal within evolution, I know it doesn't have a goal, but if it did, I could argue that liberal societies are trying to achieve the very opposite, because in liberal societies we're actually trying to protect the weakest and uplift the weakest in society, rather than eliminating them. So when it comes to what is the best society, the rules and the goals we have seems to be the opposite of what evolution is metaphorically trying to achieve.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, the poor people get scraps, and then the rich people get richer. In pretty much every society. Not necessarily. That's not what we're trying to do when it comes to liberal societies. We're trying to protect. The goal of liberal societies is to uplift the worse off. So if that's happening, it's because of the failure. It's not the goal. It's a failure. Like, the goal is to avoid that. We're trying to design society. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Go on.
No, you go.
Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say, I don't want to get into too much, maybe, is you've got a Christian society where people are valuable, like America is basically founding fathers Christian. We have rights from God, but when you take God out of the picture, then it's like, well,
no. Christian, that's not based on Christianity.
Yeah. Hold up. Okay, because that's a very different point, a very different thing, and it is really worth pinning that down for a second. And in fact, there actually is some good stuff that Armin has said on this show before. There's a couple of really good clips out there where he talks about this. But like this narrative is just demonstrably false on so many different levels, right? Like, I don't want to go through the whole history of it, man, but it is not up for debate. The vast majority of the individuals that are credited with creating the United States as we understand it today, the vast majority of those are not what most people would think of when they think of a God believer in general, and definitely not a Christian. They would be unrecognizable to probably 13 out of the 14 churches I pass just driving 5 minutes down the road, okay? So right there's already a problem. But beyond that, despite whatever the hell is the case there, okay, it is just so demonstrably true that the societies that are more focused in terms of having religion a part of their every single waking moment versus the societies that are not focused on that, the first group is definitely worse off. It is not a question. It is not a question. And the idea that the United States is in some, for instance, just specifically talking about the US, the idea that for some fucking reason now there's something radically horrible or anything going on is just not paying attention to the actual data, right? So there is still slavery in the United States. You know that, right? Like, individuals are currently in chains and being beaten. Okay, that happens. But guess what? It is the least amount of people in that situation that has ever been the case in the United States. Like, there really are lots and lots of metrics like that, right? It is one of the first times in history that half of the population really does have a say as to what they do with their lives. That's phenomenal. That did not exist for a very, very long time. When we were more biblical as a nation, there was more slavery and rape. Is that not fair? Is that an incorrect statement in your eyes, Jeff?
My name's Mike, but
I'm so sorry, Mike. I'm so sorry, Mike.
Founding fathers go. Oh, no worries, no worries. But as far as the founding fathers go, they put things under God. I mean, they got different denominations. You can argue that all day long.
Where does it say God in the Constitution?
It says these rights are given to us from God.
Wrong. Learn your documents, man. If you're going to come here and you're going to say this, there's only one spot in the Constitution that it says God or Lord or deity or anything like that. And it is at the end when they are signing the date, because the way that we signed the date in that time was the year of our Lord. But no other part of the actual founding documents of this country, when it comes to the structure of our government, at no point does it reference these rights coming from God. In fact, it is explicitly the opposite. It is the first time in the history of the creation of a government that it started out with the words, "We the people." That's what the preamble to the Constitution says. Where do the rights come from under this document? We the people, not God.
Well, it says they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights.
In the Constitution, does it say that in the Constitution, Mike?
I'm looking at the Declaration of Independence.
There you go. So what does the Declaration of Independence mean?
I know the difference. Jeff, are you, Mike, are you American? Like, I know that I'm not American. I know the difference between the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. How come you don't know that? Are you American? You are American. How do you not know that these are two different documents?
I'm an American.
Yeah. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are very different. One of them was an announcement to the rest of the world. This is what we are doing as a group. You thought we weren't all together, but in fact, funny enough, we are. And we don't like Britain. It has no legal bearing on our government. The Constitution does, and in nowhere in the Constitution does it mention the rights are from God. It explicitly says the opposite.
Yeah, I'm saying this is what they based it on, and
that's wrong. That's incorrect. That is incorrect, because if that was true, it would be in the Constitution like that. Do you not know who John Adams was? Like, do you not understand what happened between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson? We've got lots of documents. Thomas Jefferson wrote 4 or 5 different versions of the Declaration of Independence, and they argued about it for weeks. It was a document made by a committee, and eventually they said, yeah, we should say something about some kind of deity because, like, I don't know, it just feels right. That's cool, man. But to then say, like, that understanding, that belief that rights are given to people by God, that is incorrect to say that that is the foundation of the forming of our government. They explicitly went through painful effort to explain and promote the opposite. It is very well documented. Please read the Federalist Papers. Go ahead, Armin.
I think we're missing the entire. I think we're missing. I think this is very American centric, because if we're talking about Christian nations and whether humanism was responsible, Christianity was responsible for focusing on the betterment of the human condition, then we can't just like focus on the U.S. We should focus on Western countries after the Renaissance, through the Age of Enlightenment, the French Revolution, and all of that trend together to see what led these societies to focus more on the well-being of humans. Not just like the United States. This is the United States, and its foundations are part of a much bigger tradition and process, right? They say that if you want to look at the roots of modern Western civilization, you have to look at, I agree with you that what came out of Jerusalem is part of that, but a huge part of the DNA of Western civilization is also what came out of Athens and also and Florence and Paris and London, right? And all the movements that led to the Age of Enlightenment. And if you look at throughout the Age of Enlightenment and what has led for us to have these principles that made Western countries greater than other countries, you can see it was a movement away from Christianity and Christian principles, and a movement away from the afterlife and a focus more on this life. It started with the Renaissance. It started with a more humanistic approach to life, to art, to poetry, to financing, and its focus on and empiricism with Galileo, and then eventually the scientific revolution. And even though these people were still Christian through the Renaissance, you could see a shift away from attention on the afterlife to the attention of this life. So a move away from what Christianity was focusing on. And then when you go through the Age of Enlightenment, you can see now a mix of thinkers now in Western Europe that, again, most of them were believers, but not necessarily Christian. We had a mix of Christian deists and atheists. But again, if you read their work, they were trying to come up with arguments to reduce focus. This was a huge process. The less Christian the thinkers became, the better society became. So don't just look at labels. Don't look at what these people believed and what the label, like, don't look at what they labeled themselves out as. Look at what they were focusing towards, and what they were, the arguments that they were providing was giving the society an excuse to, while they're accepting Christianity, they would have less focus on it. So you can see a movement away from using the word God to using the word nature, right? So why was they insistent on basically trying to equate God and nature as if they're the same thing? Because they were trying to reduce the religious language. So at first, when we were coming up with liberal Enlightenment values, yes, there were some usage of religious language, but they were trying to use Spinoza's understanding of what God is to reduce the influence of Christianity for the arguments for why we have natural rights. So they didn't say it was God-given rights, but it was God-given rights was moving towards natural rights, because they were trying to replace God with nature, at first arguing that they're the same thing with Spinoza as an excuse, but eventually removing the God language out of it. But as we grow, as these Western civilizations grew, then they moved away from rationalism and move towards empiricism, because at the beginning, for society to accept these laws, you couldn't find these laws or these principles in the Bible. They had to actually make rational arguments for it. But why did they have to make rational arguments for it? Because we had no data. We had no empirical data that these works. But as these Western societies keep growing, because these ideas ended up showing that they work, because liberal Enlightenment values showed that they actually have real effects in empirically, we could show that they are superior ideas, then the rationalism was also took a backseat. So at first there was a push away from religious arguments toward rational arguments, and then rational arguments was pushed aside and more towards empirical arguments. So religion is so far back. Like I don't know if you could find any reason to suggest that a shift towards focusing on individual rights and human rights and has anything to do with anything that came out of the Bible, because all the evidence shows that the more you push away Christianity and religion, and the more you focus more on rationalism and then empiricism and less on revelation and faith, the better society gets. All the evidence shows this. So I don't know if there's any way that you could show us anything that came out of the Bible that is responsible for the betterment of the human condition in modern Western countries. Can you show that? Demonstrate that?
I think I could, because it talks about thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal. It's giving, the Bible gives a framework. Can I say something about Europe? Europe blows. They had Church of England, all these terrible, corrupt religions. And if they were trying to get God out of it, they're really trying to get them out of it. Just like our Constitution, we did not want the Church of England happening.
Wait, hold on. You're making a whole bunch of claims that has. First of all, Europe doesn't.
so
Europe,
much.
Europe. First of all, Europe might, relative to United States, maybe Europe is not doing as well these days. I agree with you, but European countries are still far superior. You know, in where they are at when it comes to the well-being of people. North American countries and Western European countries are so much better off than. It depends on what you compare them to. Western European countries are doing so much better than most countries on this planet, and it's because of the liberal Enlightenment values that grew out of the 18th century philosophers, and then their ideas just work. And part of that movement was a movement away from Christianity. That was part of that. That's the DNA of that movement, was pushing aside Christianity, slowly pushing aside Christianity. And again, thou shalt not kill. Do you think that people didn't have that rule before Christianity? Why do you think that
society doesn't survive if you don't get at least that minimum? Like,
this is thousands of years older than Buddhism and Christianity. Like, and also with societies like in China and India that had nothing to do. Hold on, I'm speaking.
Wait, Mike, wait.
I'm speaking. Like even in societies, that Christianity or Judaism was not introduced to them, like ancient India and ancient China, do you think they had no rules like thou shalt not kill? No society will be able to have the basic laws and principles are the foundations of any functional. Even before civilization, even when we lived in tribes, even nomads have some basic rules for them to be able to function as a basic tribe. How do you think that's it's unimaginable for people to still claim that Judaism or Christianity is responsible for the most basic of principles.
Right.
But go on.
Well, what I'm going to say is I'm just going to jump in here, Mike, because I've got a couple of other calls. We've been going for a second, and we've gotten well far afield of what you actually called in about. But here's what I'm thinking, because a minute ago, it was you brought up, you said, look, as societies have gotten further away from God, everything's gone to hell in a handbasket. I would love it if you would take some time, get some stuff for that, get some good solid points and evidence for that, and give us a call back in, and we'll touch that, man, because I think that is a claim that really particularly is one that gets under my skin, because I think there's a lot of evidence in the opposite direction. Okay, man. And I think you could present it. You seemed like you were confident, and you were like, yeah, man, I got this. You're a good speaker. And so I think we could have a good conversation on that, Mike. So I'm gonna let you go for now so we can grab some of these other calls. But yeah, do that for me. Go get some evidence and stuff, because that's one of those claims, Armin, that it rears its head every so often. It's like it goes away for a little while and people stop saying it, and then it comes back up. And it's just like, well, everything's been kind of shit lately. It's because we don't love God as much anymore. And it's just like, whoa. Do you mean like everything's been shit like yesterday? Are you just saying you had a bad day, bro? Because that's crazy. Like, there's so many things that have obviously gotten better in the world around us in our daily lives. Everything's not perfect. I completely agree. There is suffering happening right now. I totally am with you there, but don't pretend like we're still in the same boat as we were like in the 1700s. Like, guys, we have antibiotics. Like, that's a huge thing. So I can just run to my fucking cabinet and just grab some. Like, to make it just anyway. We got some super chats and we got some calls. Did you have something you want to say?
No, I just think it's quite obvious, right, that an ideology, whether Christianity or Islam or other religions, that their goal is to improve your afterlife.
Yep.
And sacrificing. Yep. If the whole point is to sacrifice this life for a better afterlife, if you push that aside and replace it with ideologies that at least are trying to improve this life, of course we are going to have the betterment of human condition, because the goal is aligned with the betterment of the human condition.
I agree. I agree, man. I agree. As long as you're focused on the afterlife instead of this one, you're not going to be really making a lot of progress. We've got $1.99 super chat from Milwaukee Matson. Did not send a message. Thank you so very much. You're just giving me the opportunity to just say whatever ridiculous nonsense I can fill this time with, and I appreciate that. We've got two $5 super chats from Aliyah Shauna Silverbow member for 1 month. And the reason I'm saying it like that is so that I can say this ridiculous nonsense in one fell swoop. So, Aliyah Shauna, this is for you. Through 3 cheese trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, Freezy Breeze blew. Freezy Breeze made these 3 trees freeze. Freezy trees made these trees' cheese freeze. That's what made these 3 free fleas sneeze. You are fucking welcome. That was, see, this is my problem. This is what I shouldn't offer shit like this to people, because like I know that they're gonna do it, you know, and it's like, anyway. No, that was actually great. That was really fun. And I'm not sure what I said. Blasphemous is a new member. Hey, thanks for being a member. Sent in $2 saying, I hold more to the steady state theory. I think that's totally fine, Blasphemous. And I also think it doesn't get us to a god. We've got 100 Czech krona from Quantum Answer, again, a member for 2 years, saying, this is for Mike. Evolution, genetic change over generation, is observed fact. It just absolutely is. There's no question. Evolution by natural selection is a scientific model that best explains that observed fact. Just so you know, I agree.
And also, the people who think because we accept evolution, that means that the laws of society should be based on.
Right. It's just, it's fallacious.
To me, it seems like, if you accept the theory of gravity, then we should push everybody to the ground.
right. We should never fly in airplanes because gravity's real.
Yes, as Violet said, and everything that could be knocked down, if you should be like a cat. Like if you see anything that could be knocked down, because you have to just give in to gravity. You should just accept everything must fall. That's what it sounds like to me. Oh, you're muted. Are you muted? Or just I don't have audio? So I thought it was my problem. Is SR? Okay, so SR has an audio problem, so he's fixing it. So I thought it's my problem. He's muted still. Are you back? Can we bring Kelly in while SR fixes that? Let me see. Crew can hear him. Armin, take the call. Okay, so I'll take the call. Let me see. Who should I take? Well, Elliot, non-theist, pagan. Sure, let's go with spiritual. Yeah, okay, let's do this one. George is calling him to say New Age spiritualist doesn't have proof but does have ideas. Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Good. I thought I'm not going to have your audio either. Go ahead.
So first I want to ask you some questions. Would you say it is a sound idea that what exists has a primary quality to exist?
Say that again?
What exists is primary requirement to exist? I mean, if something exists, it cannot be primary. How could No, the question makes no sense. But how, if what exists is a primary requirement to exist, and how does that thing exist?
That doesn't seem to make sense to me. But maybe I didn't hear it right.
No. Seriously, this is obviously not. If what exists is a primary requirement to exist, then how does that thing exist? That makes no sense.
Right.
A primary quality, a property.
Yeah,
Or
but
what exists
yeah, but you're
is primary quality of no. That makes no
yeah,
sense.
you're saying what exists is a quality of what exists. That doesn't. It just doesn't
Something
seem
that
to make
exists is
sense.
not
Yeah,
what
it's a
exists is
tautology,
not-
but it's a tautology that doesn't work.
Yeah, something that exists, it cannot be a quality of something else.
Right.
It's something that exists have qualities. Things that exist cannot be qualities of other things that exist, right?
Like we have a pencil, it exists. So, excuse me.
You're excused.
Excuse me.
You're excused again.
So
I don't know what you're.
Pencil. Okay, pencil
Yeah,
exists.
we're trying our best here to follow with you, George. Just lay it out for us, man.
By the way, you identify as a spiritualist, and this is completely in line with the type of conversation I would expect for somebody who identifies as a spiritualist.
Stop, Armin. That's mean. Okay, go ahead, George.
Sorry.
So that which exists, does it have a quality to exist? Is it a sound idea?
No. No, that does not make sense. What you've just said so far does not make sense. Because it sounds like what you're doing is you're getting to some conclusion that is not possible without the conclusion. It's a circle that just eats itself alive. It does not make any sense to say that something that exists is like a quality of existing, because like it already, like for something to exist, it has to exist. Like if that's what you're saying, yes, I'm with you there, man. But it doesn't sound like that's what you're getting at.
Let's go back to the pencil because we were going to get because you said a pencil exists. I was with you there. Okay,
yes, a pencil does exist.
Because that was good, because everything else seems to be nonsensical, but pencils existing, at least we could like relate with that. So let's build that as our foundation, okay? So a pencil exists, okay? First step one. Let's move from there. So how are we going to build upon that?
Right.
I was asking if it is a sound idea.
Pencils existing? Yes.
So let me ask you another question.
Okay.
Okay.
So, is it a sound idea to say any change, no matter how minuscule, is a total change?
No.
Oh.
What do you mean?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to off the rip, but maybe there's some explanation that can get us there. But yeah, it sounds like you're couching it specifically as the layout there demonstrates that it's not true, because you're giving two clear categorical distinctions between a minuscule change and a total change. You're already granting in that question that they're not the same thing.
Yeah. And also, my understanding of total change is it's a type of change that there's nothing left that was similar to before, right?
Right.
So a minuscule change, that means that there are things that I could identify.
The majority of it hasn't changed.
Right. So yeah, the answer is no.
Well, I'm trying to talk.
Can we refer to weed on this show?
You just did. Go ahead, George. I'm sorry. We have a little delay.
Because this would sound a lot more profound if
you were engaging in substances. Yeah.
This would be a lot more interesting, George, if we were doing something else. I've been told. I don't know.
Yeah. What are you getting at with this, George? Help us out a little.
I think here, let me actually make it better. George is saying even the most minuscule change will affect everything in some way. Is that what you're trying to say? And I would agree with you maybe in that way, because that there's ripple effects of like small changes that you could see the effects of it everywhere. Like that.
It's just equivocating.
Yeah, but it's not total change. I mean, I could say a change that the effects of it could be seen everywhere, right? But total change means that there's no characteristic that I could identify that was there before and are still existing now. That's how I identify
that minuscule change was totally changed, though. Like that minuscule thing that changed was totally changed. Otherwise, it wouldn't have changed. But now I just feel like we're just like getting into like Smurf territory, where every word is just has like, you just all these words are changed now, and it's like that now we're just not saying anything of value.
I think we had a very strong foundation with that pencil. I'm so sad that we abandoned it.
Okay, George, take us back to the pencil. What is a pencil existing? Help us understand about this. I have a pencil.
People.
Maybe we can circle back to that. So I want to talk in terms of qualities and definitions. So what I mean by total change, would you say each moment is like a new reality?
This is such...
These are words, okay, that you could define. It depends. These are not well defined words that you could just
really
make these
vague.
Right? I could come up with ways for me to say no to these questions and ways to say yes to these questions, because nobody has a definition for what total reality means or total change means. Because if I look at it in one way, like, oh yes, if this is what we mean by total change, I guess yes, that's true. But if we talk about it like this, then these are just this would be a lot more interesting if we were high. But it's not constructive, because when we're trying to actually make arguments that leads us to good conclusions, we will come up with good definitions, and we will communicate about what we will actually come up with a goal, a conclusion that we're trying to get to. We will define our terms. We will try to have a roadmap of like, this is a premise. I'm trying to build this premise and then put these together, and to get that to conclusion. You sound like somebody who's trying to make an argument, but it's more resembling like a chicken that with its head's cut off. Like you're just like all over the place, and it's not very clear what direction we're moving towards. How about this? How about you tell us what is the conclusion that you're trying to get to? What is the destination of this conversation, so that we could actually come up with a framework and a structure to see if we could get there? How about instead of like just hold, because you're asking us to trust you and hold your hand and follow you to in this journey, and we're like, we don't know where we're going, right? So how about like you actually have a conversation with us about what your intentions are, and then we could see if this is a good argument or not, or maybe we have to change direction.
Yeah, is that fair, George? Do you think the things that Armin just said is fair, or is he just like talking out of his ass crazy town?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Cool. How about
yeah,
give me a sec. How about since we have already had a bunch of calls, and normally right at the beginning of the show we have a lot more ability to really, really dig into stuff. Give us a call back. George. Take some time. Think about this stuff. Try to get some more understanding and flesh those vague terms out, because asking somebody, is every new second a different reality? There's just so much going on in that one sentence that it's just like, holy fuck, man, I'm gonna need 10 minutes just to understand what you're trying to ask me. So yeah, do that. Take a little time, come back to us, give us a call, or hang out in the ACD or in any one of the great places online, man. We got a few different spaces you can come and argue and bounce your ideas off of people. But we got another call, so I want to go ahead and grab that. Armin, did you have any other thoughts on that?
Just to say, like, this is kind of like saying, do you believe that we are dying every second and being reborn
Right.
every
See, like it's.
But I mean, maybe if you give me a specific definition of
Right.
death, yes. If you give me a different definition of death, then no. Like
Right.
this, I'm not against. By the way, I'm not against being poetic about your language.
Sure.
It's just not a good way to come up with. If you want to be poetic about things, right? I suggest doing that after making an argument, a valid argument.
Yes.
And coming to conclusions that are based on valid and sound premises and everything.
Right.
And then once establish that conclusion, then use poetic license to just make it beautiful in any way you want. It's a good way to make our conclusions that we have come up with more more interesting.
Agreed.
But it's not a way to get to conclusions.
Right. It's very important after we have the conclusions that are well established, right, through reason and evidence. Then we come up with a nice, pretty way of framing it so that everybody goes, "Oh yeah, I like that. That I should be nice to people." And it's like, yeah, like do that. But getting us to that point, like, oh my God, just go write fucking poetry, man. There's some great poets out there. Go join them. We got a couple of super chats real quick. Isaiah S. sending $5 saying, it took Jesus 3 days to come back, but it took SR under 3 minutes to come back. So yeah, suck that. SR greater than Jesus. Take that. And my prophecies came true. So that's 2 for you. 2 for you, big one. I know, right? We've got Pibble Punk.
Be careful. You're getting into my farting turtle. Don't start a religion.
We can't have that.
I'm already doing that.
Okay. Don't worry, guys. I will not cause a schism in the farting turtle universe farting turtle religion. I will not cause a schism and tell you how Armin has moved away from the true intent and is actually just a false prophet. I won't do that. Don't worry. We will not have farting turtle crusades. Not yet, at least. Pipple Punk, half dog, half canine, sending $5 saying, this show is so incredibly funny after I've had a bowl. Well, I can say I am personally a big fan of cereal. I just had a large bowl of Reese's Puffs this morning, and we'll probably be having some shredded wheat later. Anyway, we're going to go out to Wisconsin. Hank, he, him, is both an atheist and a theist. Hank, I got to tell you, I am interested in this. You were chatting with Secular Rarity and Armin Navabi. Explain to me how it is possible to both believe in a God and not believe in a God.
Okay, I guess it all started, I guess, when I was 5 years old and introduced to religion. And I was sent to Catholic school by my grandmother.
Okay.
And the first story that the nun came up with was the creation story of Adam and Eve and how we were created and we were born with an original sin. I always had problems with that original sin story, and that's where I rejected that every word or story in the Bible. I couldn't know at that time, but
so hang on just a second, Hank. I'm gonna cut in, and the reason I'm gonna cut in is just I'm not trying to be a dick here, but so far for a full minute of you talking, you've given us nothing. So what I would love is as quickly, as succinctly as possible, get to this point. We can go back to talk about other things and backstory and all that shit later, but how is it possible to both believe in a God and not believe in a God?
Okay, the God that I worship and I praise and I guess pray to is that's what I believe is I don't know about a lot of religions, but I do know that Christianity and what I was introduced to is based on a book of stories.
Okay.
That say that a God created everything, then had a son. That son is part of the God and also part of.
Are you just saying you don't believe in this version of a deity, but you believe in a different version of a deity?
I believe the deity that's in the Christian Bible is the deity, or not deity, the God that I believe in. But I believe the Christian Bible, we can agree that the Christian Bible, it's a bunch of bullshit stories.
Okay, cool. So Hank, it's important that I jump in here, okay? Because yes, I may have some agreement with you on that. I don't know if I just want to say it's like a blanket across the board for everything, but we don't need to go into that nuance. But brother, you're not somehow violating the laws of logic here, as I suspected. You have not figured out a way to rip a hole in the fabric of the universe. Instead, you just believe in a different kind of God. That's why all the time you'll hear us on here asking people, like, what version of a deity do you believe in? Like, in fact, most believers, almost all of them currently alive and throughout history, have atheistic tendencies and beliefs because they actively don't believe in all these other gods or are just not convinced of them, right? So that's fine, but you can't both not believe in any gods and believe in a god. It doesn't work. It's just literal basic logic. Does that make sense what I was just saying there, man?
Totally get you. That doesn't make sense, and that's my reason for calling, I guess, in the first.
Okay, so you cannot both accept that this cup exists that I'm holding in my hand. It once had lemonade in it. You cannot accept that this cup exists and also accept the statement no cups exist. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but that...
Okay, so then you can't both be an atheist and a theist if those terms are contradictory. They are exclusively contradictory.
Okay, so if I believe in something to be the creator, and
but just not this version in the Bible,
right? If I believe that and I worship it and I praise to it,
you're a theist.
But it is in the Bible.
Yeah.
But it is there plain as day, as far as I know. Like I said, I have.
Yeah. You're a theist. You're just not maybe the standard Christian you've come across regularly, but you are still somebody who believes in a God. You have not ripped a hole in the fabric of space-time and found a way to both be and not be at the same time, because that just is fundamentally impossible.
Okay.
Well, I can defend him.
In the Bible.
Hang on.
Okay, in the Bible, it states, or I don't know if it states, but this is what I've heard because I haven't really studied the Bible. I just know of what people have told me while trying to convince me that I need to believe in the Bible, and that I don't listen to the stories, but I try to get down
ultimately. Hang on, Hank. I can cut through this a little bit, and then I'll let Armin say some stuff. But ultimately, what you're saying, man, is just that this version of a God that you've been taught about, and a lot of people like to say is true, you just don't think that one's real, man. You think another one is. That's okay, but again, it doesn't make you both an atheist and a theist. You are still just a believer in a deity.
I think it's the same God. I just think described wrong.
But it doesn't matter. Neither of those situations matters still. That's what I'm saying, Hank. And it doesn't matter whether it's the same God and described wrong or not the same God and described perfectly. In either of those cases, you still believe in a God, which means you can't simultaneously not believe in a God.
Okay, then I'm a theist, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm a theist.
Okay, never mind.
Good. Yes, you do in fact believe in a God, because it is not possible for somebody to both believe in a God and not believe in a God. Now, next time you call us back, let's talk about why you believe in a God. Go ahead, Armin.
Unless you're a Schrodinger's theist.
Fuck you. No. No. If you've got a theist in a box, I don't know that counts. I don't know. That's a cop out. But
God could be a subatomic particle.
A subatomic particle that could release poison, and you don't know till you open the box. I don't know. We'll talk about that. We will talk about that.
If God is real and unreal at the same time,
then it would be justified. You know what? All right, Hank. Armin has convinced me. You might have a point. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, Hank, call us back in the future about why you do believe in the God that you believe in, because I think we'd have a lot of agreement on, bad stuff in the Bible and not good justification there. But let's talk about the God you do actually believe in, because I'll be honest, I do think I do think I have some pushback for it already. Not even knowing where you're coming from yet, I feel pretty confident. So, but either way, Hank, thank you for chatting with us. Thank you for letting me push back on you, and I appreciate you being receptive to that, man. Again, that's really, really important, whether you're a believer or not. Just being honest and willing to listen to people's points and criticisms is always a big deal. So thank you so much, Hank. I'm gonna let you go. I do appreciate that. Schrodinger's fucking theist, Armin. That is bullshit. Look, I'm gonna say this right now, and I know it'll come back to bite me, but that's okay. I don't want to hear any more about Schrodinger's theist. I don't want to hear anybody, posting about it on the Facebook pages or in the Discord or in live chats from here on. I don't want to hear anybody sending super chats or anything. Schrodinger's fucking theist. If you don't open the box, you don't know if it's... No, I mean, it's cute. No, it's cute. It's fine. It's just whatever. I'm not mad. About it. Fern Lovebond, a member for 6 months, sent $2 saying, all hail the farting turtle. I completely agree. All hail that farting turtle. And we cannot go just yet. Because first thing we got to do is we got to bring our wonderful backup. Where's Mr. Kelly Laughlin? Is he back there hanging out with rocks and stuff? Hey, there he is.
How's it going?
What is up, man? What did you think of the show? Give us some thoughts, man. Did you have a favorite call or a favorite point?
I made like 2 pages of notes. That's what I thought. Yeah, I know. It was crazy.
That's good.
Benjamin was, I don't know what to say to that guy. I explained to him before in detail why it's not good for the economy in the long run, and I guess it just went right over his head. So, what did I put here? Oh yeah, I don't know what his idea is with indentured servitude, like that you get a house without when you're in indentured servitude. I think you brought that up about being chained to the post, but I mean, like what indentured servitude is not getting a bank loan, right? Yeah. I think he's getting that confused.
Let's not get into that. I don't want to open that worms right now.
Okay. And I thought Caleb, it was pretty obvious he just learned the Kalam and he didn't know it very well.
Yeah,
and I think it was cool that he actually was honest about it and thought he would come back with a better argument. That was so cool to hear somebody say that, man. And but I'm sure that's not what made him a Christian. And like I said, it's probably something he just learned and reaffirmed his belief. But
maybe he'll call us back. We had a couple of good calls today, so
I hope he does.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Well, guys, you know that every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, we are hanging out right here. So make sure that you check us out next week and all future weeks. The prompt for this week is, what would Jesus Google? So get your answers in the comment section and check us out at the beginning of next week. Thank you so much for being here, folks. Armin, Kelly, I always love hanging out with you guys. Go out there, be blasphemous, do something, and we'll see you next time.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's setting up your business, what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.